Hi, everyone. Welcome to a couple of Sassholes podcast. I'm Brooklyn Johnson.
And I'm Heather Terry.
And for any of y'all that don't know, this is our power hour of true crime where we talk about fucked up people doing fucked up shit, usually for fucked up reasons or sometimes for no reasons at all.
That's right.
Because once more people be crazy.
They're very crazy, girl.
That they are. Talk about crazy.
Crazy.
I'm about to toss some shit at you.
Are you? I want to talk to... your dress looks so cute. And we were talking about outfits before we started.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a short version of the emoji that's like this.
Oh, the dancing, the salsa dancer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm the salsa dancer emoji.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. I'm about to stand up and try to do it. No.
Is that what that is?
I think, yeah, that's what it is. Okay. Have you guys seen anything or heard or knew about already the Liver King? Okay.
What?
Cool. There's a new documentary out on Netflix about the Liver King. This dude, his name's Brian Johnson. So it's really weird because we started watching it last night and everything's Johnson. And it just felt weird because we're like, that's our name. And the dude, it's crazy. So he actually had like an ancestral like company. He was very focused on ancestral living, which is focused on primarily eating like we did whenever we were fucking
Like
caveman, essentially. But raw meat. So raw liver, raw testicles, tongue, heart.
I did see a preview for this.
Yeah, and so the dude ended up being famous because he hired a company. Like, this is what, like, shook me the most. Like, fuck the whole storyline and how crazy the guy was. But, like, there's companies that you can hire to make you famous on TikTok and shit. And he had hired them. And his content is so dumb. Like, it just... But I hate that kind of content. Like, for anyone who knows me, I hate gimmicky shit. And so while we were watching it, I'm like, oh my gosh, at some point, hopefully we're going to get to this place where we have to start doing shit that I'm like, ugh, I'm going to hate it. And the dude was so bad at it. He said it would take him like 100 takes per story. And now he does just like...
Does he just eat liver? Like, is that why?
You have like I'm gonna let people just like watch it if you're interested in watching it because I can't even really explain the insanity of how he does it.
Okay.
And there's like some parts that like me and Travis our makeup would really be supportive of, like this back to the land. When you kill an animal, the respect you have for the animal as it's now nourishing your body. There's a lot that I can get behind, but the overall like part of it was that he had this intense physique. And he had told people that, like, he was asked point blank, do you take any PEDs, which is, what is that, physical enhancement drugs? And he's like, no. And he says it over and over and over again. Well, at some point in, I think, 2022, his emails were leaked that were his orders confirming his $11,000 a month regimen of steroids. And so they were like, don't you feel like that's like me. This is what it would be, is if I become a fitness influencer and I never tell you I'm on Ozempic.
Right.
Then you cannot achieve my look. Or that I'm like, dude, if you do enough fucking chest presses, you'll get these titties. No. You need to find a fucking doctor to install them. It's not a real thing. Like, there's other factors around there that created this. You know what I mean?
The installation room. It's not the
right.
OR.
How to get them installed. Store-bought. One of my friends, is it Brad, who always would call me store-bought? I think it was Brad. Thank you, Brad. He'd be like, what up, store-bought? Fuck you. Because my boobies aren't real. But anyway, it just bamboozled me, like this whole thing. And like, then it really had me on this weird gravy train of like, just becoming famous through social media from a company telling you what to do that gets you the most views. And it changed the guy so much too, to where it was like, where are we? Where are we in this world? Really, I just can't. I didn't even know that all these like people who are famous doing this shit could have literally just hired a company that made them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, so when I start chasing Heather through weird, like one of the videos that they show, just for you guys to understand the insanity of it, is that the guy has his like 4 friends. One's dressed up as soda, one's bacon, one's chicken, and one's like a steak. And he's like screaming at him about some shit of like, I don't fucking remember because I was just distracted by the situation. And then he's like, well, you have 2 seconds to get the fuck out of here, to the soda. And the soda's like, running away for this big ass can of sodas, running away from him. And he's like down on the ground with a fucking huge ass Uzi and shoots him and like blows up the dirt. It just,
I don't have any words.
Your homework tonight is to watch the first episode. Because it's
homework.
And he has sons, and he like, y'all take your own opinion on like where his sons like where their mental health is. They're super fit, but you can like, they're robots. Like he trains them like 24/7. He's like, what does the earth run on? And it's like and they're so young that they're just like timid, and he goes, when I die at one point, I only watched almost one episode, and then I had to go to bed. Because
this is one episode?
This is one fucking episode. And
I don't have to watch it. You just
at one point, he's eating, and by the way, they only eat raw meat. So they're just like sitting there, like gnawing on ground meat.
I can't watch that.
Oh my God, you can watch pimple popping. Shut up. Anyway, he goes, if I died tomorrow, what do I want you to say? And they say good. And he's like, exactly. Because I've raised you to be strong enough men that if I'm no longer here, you're fine. And there's like some parts of it where you're like, okay, kind of, if I smoke a little doobie, I can get on the same page of where your mental like space is on that. But it's just like, you got to watch it because I don't know. It's crazy. And Travis was like, so if I just call myself the blank king, I can become famous. Thinking about the Tiger King. And I go, keep in mind, all these guys lied and did bad things. And I'm sure the guy thinks he got this documentary and it's going to shine light and make him look
right
good in any capacity. And I'm like, y'all know, like when they gave you that documentary for Tiger King,
they're going to exploit you.
We're exploiting you and making you look like shit. And everyone
showing your secrets.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, this isn't. I don't think you got it because we're all like, liver is where it's at. We're going to be poking fun and looking in. And it's like, you already lied to everybody. So
the whole time you were talking about that, I thought about Scream. Whenever he's like, liver alone.
And not to mention, too, it's like he holds no accountability. My biggest issue is like accountability all day, every day. The dude is like, well, I felt the pressure since I was a kid because I was puny. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Go sit in the corner. Eat your liver.
Oh, you were a kid that had pressure? That's weird. No, other kids do.
Right.
None of them. Just you.
Only you.
Only you, liver boy.
Golly. Fuckers. I'm going to talk about a lot of fuckers today.
Golly. Fuckers.
I need a shirt that says that.
You wouldn't wear it, but you love mine.
Oh my God, she walked in here and I was like, I fucking hate your shirt. I hate this shirt with passion.
It's a Furby.
And she does it on episode, like, I'm actually happy that I'm doing my story because I have to look at a piece of paper and not that haunted fucking Furby. That is not like a cute Furby. That's like a found in your attic in the 90s and it would say something fucked up. And
did mine turn on?
I did not have a Furby.
Mine turned on in the middle of the night, and then when you take the batteries out, I swear to God, it would still.
And that's the one. That's where they made that horrible shirt from. All right. I'm going to try not to look at your chest.
I know you've been talking to Jess for the past 20 minutes.
I'm not even here with Heather today. I'm here with Jess.
Jess and I are going to trade spots. Producer Jess is right through this glass right here, which is why she keeps looking off camera.
I'm always looking off camera. Another thing I've noticed now that I've started rewatching episodes. 100%. You produce this stuff and then like I want to learn how to get better from it, but I'm also cringe because it's me. And so it's like hard to rewatch stuff. And I'm just like Jennifer Aniston who does movies. She's like, I don't watch. Right. None of them watch themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They believe in the response of other people because they're like, if I watch myself, I can't like it.
Oh, I sing karaoke all the time, but don't show me a fucking video of it. No, I'm good.
Right.
I will get up there, but don't be like, look. No, fuck you. Get out of here.
Yeah.
I sang fancy. I was there. I heard it in my head. I don't want to hear it on your fucking phone.
Lovely. Always fancy.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to tell you a story. Are you ready? Because it's kind of long.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have WGN News. I have Wikipedia. Get off me for that. Reddit, ChatGPT, which was like information on the Industrial Revolution, laws, and some math conversions for today. I just feel like if I say ChatGPT, I have to like explain what I used it for because people got to attack for AI. And then the Nashville Tennessean. All right, yeah.
Okay.
So I have some fucked up shit. I found this story when I was looking at female serial killers because I was in a mood Welcome to my mood, everybody.
I was in a mood.
I was in a mood. I really was. I literally, when I was looking for the story, I was like, I'm in a mood.
It happens.
It does.
Like, I tried to find a stalker one after I finished the new season of You.
Which was marvelous.
Oh, my God, right. But, oh. I'm just going to watch you.
Almost made it through there. I got to wash my fucking water bottle so
Can I have
bad.
this?
No.
What?
I need my own things. I need to fidget. Here, take it. Fine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Fidget. I need you to
So, Georgia Tann, if you haven't heard of this bitch,
Georgia Tann.
lock in.
That's her name.
Georgia Tann. Georgia Tann. She was a sick son of a bitch. So we're going to hop in our time machines because we're always hopping in a time machine. We're going to travel all the way back to 1920.
Oh, Throwback Thursday.
Yeah. Throwing it back, but
100
yet
years.
somehow this is still prevalent. This is somehow still truly like a prevalent situation here.
Oh, God.
I mean, not really, but kind of. No, truly. Actually, yeah. I'm going to sit in that chair and I'm going to say this shit was still prevalent, was still a factor that has been an issue to this day.
Get up there on that hill and die there.
Yeah. This is a trigger warning episode. Got to do a little trig warn. It involves abuse and murder of children. That's not what you're into today. Let's hit a little skippy skip.
Trig
All
warn.
right. Let's do it. Beulah Georgia Tann was born on July 18th of 1891. Way back in the day, in Philadelphia, Mississippi, to a Beulah, Isabella, and George Clark Tann. Because they were so fucking creative with their names. Their kid is literally just their names.
Yeah.
Lazy.
They're like, we won't forget it if we just do it like this.
Yeah. Well, and then she had a brother, and his name's Rob Roy Tann. And I'm like, why didn't Rob get George's name? He would have been the second. I'm not here to dive into that, but I just need to tell you that I've thought about it. And he was 3 years older than her. Now, Georgia was a bit of a trendsetter, if you will. She was a school teacher at a time when women did not work outside of their home. When the Industrial Revolution started, women did start taking jobs in factories and whatnot. And that eventually, by like 1945, 1 in 4 women were working. I wanted to make sure that we highlighted this because I'm intrigued at the simple fact that, like, I didn't think any women were even working outside of the home in the early 50s, late 50s. In my mind, that didn't start happening until we were ripping our bras off and burning them bitches. But apparently, it was happening all before that.
Whenever they had to go to the war, whenever the men went to the war, didn't they all go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was the first time we were allowed in essentially like factories was where you really started to like get the head wrap and like the let's go type of thing. But we were able to be like school teachers, social workers, secretaries. Once more, in my mind, that didn't happen until the movie Mad Men came out.
Yeah.
So I am obviously an ignorant soul. Now I want to keep in mind here for all those keyboard warriors, sit the fuck down. This is an old ass story. This is what I found online. This is my version. I am Brooklyn Johnson. I will tell you my story.
Oh, good.
If you like true crime, guess what you're doing? Every single fucking time you hear any story out there, it is someone else's interpretation.
Exactly.
Because you're going to find different storylines no matter how you chew it. It's the same gum.
It's the same liver.
Yeah. So her father was a judge, and being a judge in the 1900s, I can only imagine that this bro was, quote, domineering. He was a domineering personality. And I'm like, what fucking white man anytime before 20 or before where's the Me Too movement?
This morning.
The Me Too movement, all of them were fucking domineering.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't even know if they had another adjective to describe a white man with power. So homeboy was like, I would like for my daughter to be a concert pianist. Solid desire. And so he enrolled his daughter in lessons when she was 5 years old.
Oh.
It doesn't seem that it all sucked because I also read that in their home in Hickory, Mississippi, it was also a meeting spot for the neighborhood. Sounds like a fun time. Maybe, maybe not. I didn't dive further into it because this wasn't the important part of the story, or maybe it was, but her father would bring home neglected kids. And I can't tell if I should be reading between the lines here. Like, he basically welcomed them in. And it kind of seemed like it was a good situation. I don't really know though.
You want to think?
I wanna.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was good or creepy. So y'all just
could be taken either way.
Do whatever you'd like.
What do you always say? Choose your own adventure.
Exactly. So Georgia attended Martha Washington College in Abingdon, Virginia, with a music degree and graduated in 1913. Fun fact: she actually hated playing the piano.
Oh.
As everyone does whenever it's shoved down their throat right next to the baby bottle. Right? She started at 5, dude.
I mean,
I didn't even know my ABCs. Maybe I knew my phone number. She continued getting her education on, though. What? 5 is not a lot to know. I wasn't advanced.
but with her baby bottle.
Well, it feels that way. She continued getting her education and she took took her classes in social work at Columbia University in New York for 2 summers. She wanted to be a lawyer like her father, which I hate to say just seems like an impossible feat at the time. Right. Her father was supportive of this, and she did pass the state bar exam in Mississippi, but her dad did not want her to practice law. Just as a fun information there, he said it's unusual for a woman to do that. So he had her get trained in it.
But he's like, study it. You actually did it.
Now, but don't practice it. And I don't even know that anyone would have let her practice it.
Right.
Like, I don't know there. I'd usually say that I have a ton of respect for a woman like this, but it's time for me to make you fucking hate her.
Man. All right.
Lasai. It is time. I did that for Chelsea. This is for Chelsea Key. She one time said Lasai in an email, and it has lived on. And it will live on forever. I randomly would be like, Lasai. And I just can't stop it. She's turned me into this, and I don't know what to do about it. So shout out to Chelsea. Anyway, she also had no desire to get married or push out any of the fucking little minions, and she wanted to be a career woman. Back in the early 1900s, she didn't have a lot of choices, obviously, and so it seemed like social work was the right fit. She ended up working at the Mississippi Children's Home Society as the receiving director at the Kate McWillie Powers Receiving Home for Children.
Oh, that rolls off the tongue.
I was like, that's a long-ass fucking sign.
Kate McWillie?
It's a lot. Prior to that, there was just a one-liner about her working in Texas as a social worker, but quickly. I did say that way. Whitley.
What? I was like, stickly.
But she quit quickly.
Quit quickly.
Okay. And I'm apologizing for my lack of flourish because that's my only one line on it. Now we have an Ann Atwood here. Okay. This is the daughter of a family friend who also worked at the home as a house mother. She was 8 years younger than Georgia. And after giving birth to a son out of wedlock, Atwood began using the surname Hollingsworth. This is what women had to do to make it look like they were a widow.
Oh.
Because you could not be married out of wedlock. Hopping onto that.
You couldn't get knocked up.
No, because it was a woman's fault to get pregnant, not the fucking semen.
Not the semen.
Or the seamen who likely knocked her up. Them seamen, you know? Okay, so there's homes for unwed mothers, all right? So, like, I just also want to say, like, there were homes for unwed mothers. That's kind of where you went in the case that you got knocked up and your family disowned you because you were a whore. And you couldn't have it. Yes, and you could not have a child without a husband.
No.
So either switch that last name or or you go live in that home, and that doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
Go hide. Either. Go hide. How dare you?
Now, what I will say is that was her lover. So they call them Boston marriages back in the day.
Why?
I don't know. Like, I found this because I was like, wait, so was she a lesbian? I needed to understand this because she's going to be with Ann Atwood her whole life.
Okay.
It is her and Ann, and she adopts her children. So they were lovers and friends. They were both lovers and friends.
Like the Usher song?
But yes. But it wasn't okay. And they called them Boston marriages back then. If they would have given it more thought and looked into it, that I think there would have been a way bigger issue. Because women were lesbians shacking up with their friends. And unless somebody really eyed them in the wrong way, it would be okay, but it also was not okay. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? Like, if somebody paid attention to it, then it was not going to be okay.
Oh, so if they flew under the lesbian radar.
Yes. And I don't know where that radar sat. Was it really low? Were they like,
I bet if they
on
were
the carpet?
What? You're the worst.
I know.
But
I know I am. What? But I don't know.
I don't even know what I was going to say because you just got...
Threw in a carpet munch.
I quit.
Yep.
I quit the podcast.
You're welcome. So anyway, that was happening.
Okay.
I just need you to know. Around this time, Georgia also spent winters teaching in Itta Bena, Mississippi, sometimes accompanied by Ann and her adopted daughter, June Ann. They are so fucking crushing the
Man.
names, man.
There were not baby books back then.
No, there was not top 20 most popular names
Right.
listed.
Where are all the Braxtons?
It was Alma, by the way.
Oh.
Alma was the name that's going to rattle its little butt through here. In 1923, they spent Christmas at Georgia's parents. Although the exact nature and timing of their relationship is unclear, right? By 1924, Georgia was dismissed for her questionable child placement practices. They relocated together to Mississippi, Tennessee, along with Atwood's son, Jack, and Junan. So they're moving. Now, Georgia has grown into this strong woman. She's obviously smart. People feel like she's trustworthy. Trustworthy comes with competence, if you ask me. She was smart. You feel like she's trustworthy. Mm-hmm. She has a stern grandmother look about her. Not in 1924 because she wasn't all that old back then. But she ends up looking like a very stern, possibly Mrs. Claus. She ends up being hired as the executive secretary at the Shelby County brand of the Tennessee Children's Home Society. This whole thing is the Tennessee Children's Home Society fucking downfall as we get through it. So apparently this place was fancy as fuck, and it was the largest society in the state of Tennessee and had branches in Jackson, Knoxville, and Chattanooga. It seemed super fucking legit.
Yeah.
And they were. Georgia wasn't.
Oh.
Yeah. They were established back in 1897 as a nonprofit, and their mission was holy: provide the support, maintenance, care, and welfare of white children under 7 years of age admitted to its custody. Once more, race being a factor at the time frame.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's cover some laws, little ladies. Let's cover some laws. Now, while in Tennessee, law permitted agencies to place children with appropriate applicants to ban the selling of children, agencies could only charge for their services, which is kind of like a duh to me. I'm pretty sure that's how adoption works now.
Right.
So while they followed the law, the society charged about $7 for adoptions within Tennessee. The laws weren't really there for adoptions. Like, you could sort of place an ad in a newspaper and essentially sell your kid.
Whoa.
No background checks on parents, really no court oversight, and they weren't really making sure that the children were okay. It's like the wild, wild west for babies.
Right.
Let's dig in. Let's tap this maple tree for the syrup. So, as we're looking for adoptions, what was it like back in the day? So essentially, I probably should have wore jeans. Essentially, let's think about the 1900s. Adoption wasn't a thing at all. And essentially, if you had a child that you didn't want, you were likely to be in one of those unwed homes, right?
Right.
But there's also an entire state of, like, we have orphanages. So at some points, they basically would, you'd take the train somewhere and they would auction off these kids.
That's insane.
Yeah. Like, it really was like a slavery auction, but for children. Because either you had kids that you didn't want and you couldn't feed them anyway. You throw them into the orphanages, right? Or they were child labor. Families in the country had a ton of fucking kids, because everyone's pullout game was weak as fuck.
What else are they going to do out there?
It was hired help.
Farm and fuck.
It was hired help.
Yeah.
The more hands you have. That was my mom. Like, my mom's family was a farm family, and they had a shit ton of fucking kids, and they worked the farm. That is what it was. Mm-hmm. There was never a chance for, like, I wanted a kid and couldn't have them.
Yeah.
In some cases, yes. But it's definitely not the Handmaid's Tale that it is today.
Mm.
Like, let's all take that moment and realize that hospitals make money off of in vitro. They realize all of this. Now we're having problems with getting pregnant. You literally, like, had someone fucking dry hump you in high school and their semen got on your jeans and you were pregnant at this point. I'm just flabbergasted by the way things are. Did I go too far again?
I'm going to have to go sit outside.
I went too far again. I feel like that happens.
They dry up and then they come on my jeans and then look, babies.
Yeah. It's kind of how it went. Wonderboy Media is not only the proud producer of this glorious magic imploring your ear holes right now, but they're also a big deal.
Get in touch with them today to make all of your dreams a freaking reality.
From using their bangin' ass podcast studio,
where we are right now,
to creating amazing videos and editing our content like the mystical mavericks they are.
Your podcast can go further when you have a Wonder Boy.
Hit up Drew today at WBOYmedia.com.
Or text him day or night at 270.
Just kidding.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, basically what it did come through later on and in that like 1920s time, I mean, an orphan could bump into me on the street and be like, "Don't you want me though?" You could apparently when Georgia was 19, she was walking through the fucking town square. I'm making that up. I don't fucking know where she was walking around. But this orphan girl was able to talk a rich couple into taking them.
Oh.
And that had been a seed that was watered under a June sky. And she was like, "There's money to be had."
I feel like you're sassier in your red dress today. I feel like it's the red that's making you sassier.
And maybe it is.
I feel
it
like
could be.
It's your power color.
Ugh, I'm going to start wearing it all the time. All the fucking time. So yeah, like
That's insane.
you could just take a kid. Jess could be like, "Look, I got one extra." And I'm like, "I'll take it." That's
so
kind of how it went.
wild. And you said no background checks or anything. So like they could walk up
No
to
court oversight, none of that.
child molester
Yes.
and then be like, "I want you to take me home." And then they get locked in a basement and terrible things happen.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
1,000%.
That's insane.
Yes. So which of all of this leads to the fact that there wasn't really a law against selling children? They acted like it kind of was, but you could only charge for the services. So whatever was services rendered, you're following the law. I can go grab this kid off the street. You can adopt this child. Just pay me a service fee. Guess where I got that kid? I stole him.
Oh God.
That is what I'm getting at.
Black market.
Everything that happens here in this children's society is what depicted the laws that we know in this nation to this day.
Damn.
Yeah. Now, Georgia being the smart woman she is, she starts arranging out of state. That's the other thing. Back then, you tried to keep them in state. If you let the child get out of the state, then whatever oversight they really did do, which there was some, there were some background checks. But do you think they fucking Googled the background check? No.
How do you do a background check back then?
Papers.
I'd
The
like,
papers.
read through a
Medical
newspaper.
history. They at least would know the medical history. That was a
Yeah.
big part of it, was the medical history.
Huh.
At least let me know if this child that I got and they knew the dad and they're like, "Dude, they have all of them have died of a heart attack." Then at least they would know that. Or some type of a mental health. Once more, dude, they didn't know any of that shit. They were
Yeah.
barely able to figure out if somebody had syphilis. So,
Yeah.
Here
I'm
we
like,
are.
how would they'd be like, "Hey, do you have any diseases?" "Nope. All good." "Okay, cool. Yep, he's checked out." Like,
kind of.
I mean, I don't know how they would even do that.
Right. Kind of like that. But they still did have, like, the birth certificate is still kind of a thing, you know? Like, we were understanding that kids were born and notified of parents. Like, there was some information in there, right?
Yeah, sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she starts arranging out of state private adoptions, and she started to, like, charge top-notch prices for her services.
Shady.
Oh, it is so bad. This shit is gonna just spiral into a clusterfuck of gnats and shit. It's a natty shit pie.
Natty shit
Natty
pie.
shit pie. As many as 80% of these adoptions were to parents in New York and California. We're in Tennessee.
Shipping them out far.
Adoptions in states like Mississippi, Arkansas, and Missouri could be arranged for about $750, which is more like $16,446 today.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Like, who has that cash back then?
a lot of people.
Rich people.
No. Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. But yes, it wasn't. No, you're right. I'm over here like, well, it
I
seemed
just
like.
talked her into it, and I just had to say one soon.
I know. Well, because it was happening. A lot of
Right.
adoptions were happening at the $700 rate. So I'm like $700, $750, whatever it was.
Or maybe they
it was happening.
saved up everything if they really wanted it.
It was, yes.
Jesus.
All
right.
Now she would broker some that were upwards of $5,000, which is like 110 grand today.
How does she determine the
Whatever she wants, it's her
amount?
services.
It's like, oh, this is like grade A.
Yeah.
Kid. This one's
No, just the richer the family, the more expensive the cost.
so she went by her audience. All right.
By 1924, she was officially trafficking children and making a fortune while doing it. She will be the highest paid social worker ever to this day. Ever to this fucking day.
That's so gross.
Records indicate that between 1940 and 1950, the agency placed 3,000 children in in just two states, California and New York. So if she brokered 3,000 kids at a $750 rate, she was making, by my math, and by my math, I mean ChatGPT. And at one point, ChatGPT told me, and I quote, "We can't really do this, so we're going to give you a rough estimate based off of inflation rates." My math mathed to $49 million. Now, the math that I'll get to at the end of this only says one. But I think they're wrong and I'm right.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I back you up.
And thank you. I'm happy that you're supporting it with literally no knowledge of why. I'll give you reasons, but I like that you supported me so
what
hard.
best friends do.
I agree. Business was good and it was busy. Alma Walton and Regina Wagner, they also worked for Georgia, and they made a trip every 3 weeks with 4 to 6 babies. Alma headed to Cali, Regina to New York. They would rent hotel rooms to meet with prospective adoptive parents. Most of them were wealthy, of course. Each couple would pay $700 and they'd make their check out to Georgia Tann. Homegirl would rack up a fucking list of charges for them to pay as well. Background checks for prospective parents that she had not done. So she charged them for background checks she didn't do. Expensive ass flights. And oh yeah, she would charge them 5 times the rate of the actual paperwork. 5 times.
Shit.
Yes.
Bait and switch. Too.
Yes. The state of Tennessee itself was contributing $61,000 a year to the agency, which was like $1.34 million today.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of money. 31% of that money was going towards the Memphis branch that she worked at. Bitch was sneaky. Her profits were kept in a separate bank account under a false corporation name. Allegedly, she pocketed 80 to 90% of the fees from these adoptions for her personal use.
What a piece of garbage.
Now, what do rich people do? They try not to pay taxes.
Oh.
That is true. That is true. They try not to pay their taxes. So she also failed to report the income to either the society's board or the IRS.
So she had a little side gig on the side.
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Where was she getting these kids?
I was going to ask you that, but I was hoping you'd tell me.
Well, it's time for me to just fucking rip your hate circle and you're going to just toss it out there.
I'm in a good mood today.
Well, time for me to fuck it up. Georgia had authority that tends to lend itself with smart individuals, right? Especially if you know how to threaten them. So she would threaten legal action, which she would scare anyone who wasn't trained in law. Like a lawyer could come up to me right now, threaten me, and I'm going to be like, I believe you.
They would start saying all these lawyer words, and I'd be like, I don't get it.
And I'm going to take this moment and say I'm college educated,
right.
Which it doesn't matter. It hasn't gotten me anywhere in my life. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. It's given me a lot, but I would be scared. Now imagine it's 1925. I had sex with this guy, Mike. Mike told me he'd marry me, and he's not. And now my parents are pissed. I am solo. I have a baby. I have no way of working.
Oh.
I am not smart. Let me not say that. I could be street smart. I don't know. But I'm not educated because I wasn't allowed to go to school. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Stern fucking Meemaw comes up to me. She starts whiplashing me with her tongue of words of law.
Yeah.
Here's my baby.
Like, yeah. I bet she manipulated the fuck out of them, especially if they had it hard.
Oh, and she does the coercion sucks. But at least, the coercion sucks, but it gets worse somehow. Ugh. So they were obviously poor single mothers, but she did do this to, couples who couldn't afford the situation or didn't know and didn't understand. Watch. Just fucking watch. She would get them to turn the children over to her custody under all these false pretenses. The mother's probably thinking they're doing the right thing. And she would take all the children that she took all the children she could find, including the children who were born into inmates at the Tennessee mental institutions and those who were born into to wards of the state.
Yeah. Through
her connections. So any baby that was born in a psych ward, in a prison, any of it.
And they probably, the people that handed them over probably thought they were doing the best for the child because she's with the nonprofit, right?
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you more. I'm going to tell you so much more.
No, what?
Because yes, they thought that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to just sprinkle right now that she would tell the babies were dead. That the babies died of an illness. And they were alive. So, yes. Yes. So the demand was high at the time.
Yeah.
And she had no fucking moral compass. Keep in mind, the demand is high for rich parents to get kids, but exactly what you said. Also for the scuzz buckets to buy kids, to have sex with them.
Oh, God.
To abuse them, to beat them, to murder them, to neglect them, to make them work the farms. All of those same people are a part of this. It's not just rich fucking George and Emma who are going to give this child a great life. It is the pedophiles, the rapists, the murder, all of them. If they had $750, it spoke.
All they had to do is just get their money and go. Like, she doesn't give a fuck.
So there's zero regard for the children here, and little, like just none. Yeah. And there's no proof. Like, there's little proof in what's going on here. In 1937, a governmental report by Emma Annie Winslow, who is a prominent American home economist and researcher, which also kind of like, get it, girl. I didn't know women could do all that.
I know.
She reported that the 3 homes for unwed mothers in Memphis, in cooperation with the local health department, had committed to keeping mothers with their infants for at least 3 months before seeking adoption, right? And that was to make sure that they could complete breastfeeding.
Yeah.
We don't even get puppies anymore that haven't had 3 months with the mom. It's a best practice. They all agreed to it. The baby needs 3 months. Well, Georgia, all 3 homes reported that she would collect the children within weeks due to some form of a court commitment. She would just steal these babies, guys. I want you to understand. She would just take the babies and act like the baby had a court commitment and never bring the baby back and say the baby died.
Oh, God.
So she did it because
law degree and used it for awful, terrible things.
And she would act like the kids, like she didn't want the kids to like develop thrush and like all these other things in the hospitals. And
just make shit up. Basically.
Yeah, because, still back then, either the mother still died in pregnancy. Babies did die quickly in some of those environments too. So she kind of camouflaged into really good looking trees too. You know what I mean? Like she was smart. Emma Winslow had reported that Georgia had the practice of collecting children directly from their mothers at the hospital before the mother was even released. And some mothers had signed the children over to the orphanage before the child was even born. And usually that had to happen like after to make sure they could change their mind.
Oh, yeah.
And then she would rush them through the process and shock them with the speed of it.
Oh, man.
Georgia said that she preferred to receive the children early before they developed thrush or some other type of infection in the hospital. Yet during 1933 and 34, while there were no maternal deaths between the 3 homes, there was a large number of infant deaths due to an epidemic that was kind of happening at the hospital. So once more, the trees, she blended in. There were improvements in care in the hospital nurseries that decreased infant mortality during those previous years, and ultimately concluded that the uptick in infant deaths must have come from non-resident mothers from other areas that gave birth in Memphis. So somehow it gets worse. Like, Georgia was documented taking children born to unwed mothers at birth, claiming that the newborns required medical care. So acted like a nurse taking a kid to go get a vaccine. Like, not vaccines back then probably, but like just kid needs to be taken care of real quick.
Right.
When the mothers asked about the children, her and her fucked up team would explain that the babies had died when they were placed into foster care or adopted, like that the kids were dead. The kids were not dead. They were sold.
No, who's checking on this? How is this getting past people like her bosses and stuff?
I'm going to get there. But she had them all in their pocket. She paid people out.
No.
Yeah. So it's time to blow your mind a little more. In some cases, single parents would drop their children off at nursery school.
No, stop it.
Only to come back and find out that their kids were taken. They would drop them off at nursery school, and they were told that welfare agents had taken them. Then the parents would be like, what the fuck?
Where's my kid?
Yes. And like, truly, I'm just blown away by how this was done, and that, like, they act like no one was going to fight for their children. I dropped them off at school and now they're missing.
Yeah.
And you're acting like I'm supposed to just be like, someone stole my car. I'm annoyed. My favorite sunglasses were in there.
I know. You're like, what's the problem? They're like, what's the problem? You're like, that.
Where the fuck is my fucking kid?
Right.
And children would also be temporarily placed in an orphanage because a family member or a caregiver was like sick, or maybe they were just unemployed for a minute. Mm-hmm. And then they would come back to get their kid because they were taken by a welfare
Oh.
They don't understand why their kid was taken, and then they go back to get them, and then they're like, oh, they were adopted. They weren't up for adoption.
That's so shitty.
Or
Stop
they
saying
would,
or, because every time you say
because
it, there's
it's so
more
dumb.
bad stuff.
Well, it was either that, or they would say, sorry, your kid was never here. There's no record of them being here.
So, oh my God. So they say no. They're like, oh, I don't know, little Charlie. What are you talking about?
There's no record of a Charlie being here.
I don't-
But a welfare agent took my baby and told me that it was going to be here. Well, I'm sorry, there's no record of him.
I hate this story. It's making me angry.
It basically is like a pawn shop.
It's making me mad.
Yeah.
I'm getting mad.
She was doing whatever the fuck she wanted and making bank the whole time while doing it. She destroyed records of the children who were processed through the society and conducted minimal background checks on the adoptive homes. As a result, the Child Welfare League of America dropped the society from its list of qualifying institutions in 1941. I will be giving you the most insane list as to why they were dropped a little bit later. Now, keep in mind that many of the files of the children were fictionalized before being presented to the adoptive parents, which covered up the child's circumstances before being placed. When an adoptive parent discovered that the information on the child was not correct, like falsified medical histories, Georgia just tapped into her bitch self and she threatened them with possible legal action that would force them to give the kid back.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like they would realize like, hey, this doesn't seem like that was right. Okay, well, I'll just take your kid away from you. Okay, well then fine. I'll just keep the document as it is. Tann's threats were fulfilled with the aid of Shelby County Family Court Judge Camille Kelly, who used her position of authority to sanction Georgia's fucking activities. Georgia would identify children as being from homes that could not provide for their care, and Kelly would just push the matter through their dockets.
No.
She also severed custody of divorced mothers, placing the children with Georgia, who then arranged for the adoption of the children into better homes that were able to provide for the child's care.
Okay. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you keep telling me shitty shit because this is making me mad.
Yeah, and I still have a ton of pages.
I looked down and was like, I bet there's a lot more bad shit in
Yes, there's a lot. So yeah, hold on tight.
All right.
The hard, sad, and bitter truth is that the kids were abused, neglected, sexually assaulted, and used as child labor on farms, as I had mentioned. So look at this shit. In a 1947 letter by Tann's attorney, Abe Waldauer, he said that the prospective adoptive couple had complete custody and control of a child for 1 year, may submit the child to physical or mental examination they wish, and take any steps they may desire to ascertain that they have a healthy and normal child. If not, the Tennessee Children's Home would take it back, literally written, take it back without question, like a fucking dishwasher.
Oh my God. They're like,
Test the kid.
I bought this used car.
Make them run 1 mile under 15 minutes or whatever the fuck.
I know, but it's like, oh, I'm over it. I thought I wanted a kid, but now I don't. Like, that's so sad.
They don't seem as smart. I wanted them to play the piano.
Right.
And this one doesn't seem to pick up the piano.
This is so... Okay. I hate...
Georgia's connections were deep. Not only did she have a judge in her pocket, she also had connections with the former Memphis, Tennessee mayor, E.H. Boss Crump. He had long been known to take bribes from unlawful establishments like brothels and gambling halls, a fact that Georgia knew and prospered from. So she was widely respected in the community, counting among her friends prominent families, politicians, and legislators.
She had dirt.
Let's add a little dash of fuck you into the mix. While those sweet little angels were in her care, she neglected them herself, sexually and physically abused them, and the word murder was listed as well. In the 1930s, Memphis had the highest infant mortality rate in the nation, mainly due to Georgia. Once more, all covered up by her high-powered tribe of cuntwads. In 1943, a wealthy businessman donated the mansion at 1556 Poplar Avenue to the society. This society has been knocked from its original place of power, but apparently all you need are rich friends. They're knocked off of the list of even being a viable place to get a child from.
So they're not even on there, but she's still getting it.
So they're not getting the money from the government, most likely. But don't worry, my friend just gave this mansion.
Oh my God.
The all-female staff wore all white nursing uniforms, even though most of them were untrained, and they were also on drugs. They had drug issues. These were not nurses. They just wore the gown.
What the fuck?
The children were frequently sedated, and to add even more devastating news, if they could not place the child, they would simply stop feeding them and allow them to die from malnutrition. That's the part that got me the worst.
God.
That there's so much bad, but that you didn't even just kill. You just stopped feeding them in a room and like left them to die because they couldn't place a kid. She ignored all of the doctor's recommendations for sick children. She denied them care and any medication, which meant a lot of them just died from diarrhea because she just wouldn't take care of them.
Oh my God.
We've mentioned that at the time, these so-called black market adoptions were not illegal, but of course they were considered ethically and morally wrong for many reasons. The simple fact that young unwed mothers were often coerced to give up wanted children. Coerced to give up wanted children. They wanted their kid. This was not I did not want my kid. The suitability of the parents were often ignored. Information about the child's heritage, their medical history was lost, and adoptive parents weren't aware of any physical or mental illnesses. Eventually, by the late 1940s, lawmakers began to investigate these adoptions and found support in public orphanages that were making fewer of their residents available for adoption. By that time, Georgia Tann was the head of the Adopted Children's Association of America.
The head.
Ran it all. There's a story where they had someone driving up in a limousine to this family's house. They had like 6 or 7 kids. They asked the kids, like, I guess 3 of them, a twin and a brother, I believe. I could be wrong. My apologies. But there were like 3 kids of a larger family. She drives up to their farm. Their parents aren't near them. Like, they're on a different part of it. They're like, hey, do you want to take a ride? And they're like, yeah. Took them to an orphanage and sold them.
Holy shit.
Their parents had no idea and could not find them. Like, they just disappeared off their property. She started kidnapping. Literally planned a ring of just taking people's kidnapping off of their own, at their own house.
When did she start? This is like 20.
In the early 1920s.
But like
by 1924.
1940.
Yes.
Too, so like that long.
Yes.
So many kids.
Now, yes. All 3,000 were placed under her. 3,000 kids. By the end of this, I'm going to give you the number 5,000. 5,000 kids were lost and stolen under her reign. Now, it took time, though, as they started investigating. So the Tennessee governor at the time was Gordon Browning. He launched an investigation into the society on September 11th of 1950 after receiving reports that the agency was selling children for profit. He assigned Memphis attorney Robert Taylor to the case, and hell, shit just fucking snowballed from there. Just 2 days later, 2 days, the story was published in the media nationwide, including the Memphis, Tennessee Commercial Appeal and the New York Times.
They got that shit out there.
Mm-hmm. Public Welfare Commissioner J.O. McMahon accused Georgia and her cohorts of receiving as much as $1 million in profits. That's why I'm telling you, I really think it was so much more.
I fucking bet.
Well,
what? Now what? I need you to stop. I'm mad. Okay.
Sadly, I'm going to, if you would shut the fuck up.
It can't be over with all these pages.
I know. I just have a lot of sadness to tell you as well. Sadly, she would not be held accountable for her crimes because quite possibly a higher power was calling her home downstairs. She died of uterine cancer on September 15th, 1950, 3 days before the state filed charges against the society. She died of cancer. 3 months after her death, the state of Tennessee sued the Tann's estate for $500,000. The case was settled out of court with her beneficiaries ceding 2/3 of her $82,000 estate to the Tennessee Children's Home Society. The Tennessee Children's Home Society was closed in 1950. When I had mentioned that, I'm so long-winded, the Tennessee Children's Home Society had been dropped from the Child Welfare League of America, here is the list of why. Which I don't know how she was the head of that. That was one thing I'm like, where did someone make a mistake and say she was the head of that? Or was she really the head of that? Or was she just the head of the children's home? My apologies and my confusion, but either way, I believe she was not the head of the welfare league, though she could have bought her place there. But then why would she have dropped her society?
Yeah.
I think she was the head of her society.
Yeah.
And that someone made an error
An oopsie.
Yeah, because I copied it from that. But I could have made an error. Because guess what? I'm a human.
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me. I'm just going to blame it on a fictitious person that I made up.
Quote Shaggy. It wasn't me.
I got to get myself situated. Okay. Here is why they were dropped.
Okay.
Repeated failure to have homes of foster parents investigated prior to the placement of children for adoption. Failure to study the children and their heritage before placing them for adoption. Failure of the society to select proper homes for the children placed for adoption. Because the foster parents had been permitted to select the child of their choice rather than placing the children in the home best suited for the child. Because the home had engaged in advertising children for adoption and had encouraged hasty placements in disregard of the children's right to protection from commercial advertising. And because the society had engaged in interstate placement of children at long distances from the situs of the society, which prevented careful home findings and suitable supervision pending adoption. So all of that. So it seemed like it seems like they gave a fuck.
I mean,
it took them to lose 3,000 to 5,000
I was
children.
like, it took a minute.
Yeah.
It took one person that she bought off to open their mouth. Like, one person had to slip up.
Well, they said it was multiple complaints that they were being advertised that they were selling kids.
So finally it got up there.
Yeah, I don't know how or who.
I just pictured somebody at like a rich white guy party and one guy getting drunk and being like, oh, you can buy all
They
these
thought they
kids.
were adopting.
Yeah.
It wasn't the rich guy. They were adopting.
Oh, yeah.
They were going through the process.
Yeah.
It could have been
one of her higher
it could have been fucking Maple Ridge Farms that was like, dude, did you know you can buy labor? Like, I just bought these kids.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
While some of her victims are known to be buried in the Elmwood Cemetery in Memphis, Tennessee, which we are going to, other children were never accounted for. The exact number of deceased children remains unknown, with the estimates of about 500 deaths due to mistreatment.
It's so sad.
Georgia Tann is estimated to have stolen over 5,000 children. New York and California vowed to take action. But guess what? They didn't. No adoptions were investigated and no children came home to their rightful parent. They didn't investigate a single one.
Not one after that.
Not one.
They were like, oh, she's dead. It's fine. If I could make facial reactions above my eyebrows, I would be very shocked.
Yeah.
But I sadly cannot.
For her part, Judge Kelly was believed to be receiving bribes for ruling in Georgia's favor. However, in a 1951 report to the Browning by the Tennessee Department of Public Welfare said that she had failed on many occasions to aid destitute families and permitted family ties to be destroyed. She had not personally profited from the rulings.
Oh,
Big fuck you. That is such a fucking lie.
She's like, I didn't.
Fucking Georgia was making hand over fist $1 gajillion.
Yeah.
Of course she was paying them off.
I mean, like, why would you do? Okay.
Why would you do? I just like to ruin
that?
people's lives and ruin kids' lives just for the hell of it.
Right. I was just bored and I was like, you know what? I'm going to spice it up when I'm
going to
sitting
do
up
the
here.
exact opposite of what I'm supposed to
I'm
do.
going to spice it up here on the bench, but for free. For free.
Right.
Just for fun.
She resigned shortly after the start of the investigation and died in 1955 without any charges having ever been brought against her. Over several decades, 19 of the children who died at the Tennessee Children's Home Society due to the abuse and neglect that Georgia subjected them to was buried in a 14-foot by 13-foot lot at the historic Elmwood Cemetery with no headstones.
Like, no.
She had bought the lot sometime before 1923 and recorded the children by their first names, like Baby Estelle and Baby Joseph. She didn't give them headstones. In 2015, the cemetery raised $13,000 to erect a monument in their memory. It reads in part, in memory of the 19 children who finally rest here unmarked, if not unknown, and of all the hundreds who died under the cold, hard hand of the Tennessee Children's Home Society, their final resting place unknown, their final peace a blessing. The hard lesson of their fate changed the adoption procedure and law nationwide. Now, in her book, Rural Unwed Mothers, An American Experience, Maisie Huff makes the argument that the implementation of social work standards in Tennessee without providing the needed funding contributed to the abuses in the system. That the money that was provided was never enough to actually make this what it should have been.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Children's Home Society scandal resulting in adoption reform laws in Tennessee in 1951. In 1979, the state adopted legislation requiring the state to assist siblings who were trying to find each other, while a bill that extended this provision to birth parents did not pass. In 1996, the state of Tennessee enacted Chapter 532 of the Tennessee Public Acts of 1996, which revised the process of obtaining adoption records by releasing them to adult adoptees of the Tennessee Children's Home Society upon receiving permission from any living birth parents, allowing them to technically find their families again. In 96.
I'm like, that's so long. That's
Yes.
so...
But none of the records were made anyway, and half of them were lies.
That's true.
So before the 1920s, adoption was a rare practice in the United States, with the Boston Children's Aid Society placing only 5 children a year. No one adopted kids.
Really?
Yes, because there was a fucking influx, man. No one could feed for themselves. Like,
I mean,
no one
yeah.
needed more kids.
Yeah.
They could barely take care of their own. Recession, the Industrial Revolution,
Child mortality, too. So,
all of the
yeah, yeah.
mother mortality issues. Like, it just wasn't a thing.
Right. Shit.
By contrast, in 1928, Georgia Tann placed 206 children with adoptive families. So, like,
Go
five
to 200.
in Boston
Yeah.
to 206 in Tennessee. Boston in the 1920s.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Boston was where everything was at. There's tons
Regardless
of
of
them.
where you are,
that too.
5 to 200 and fucking something.
Right. There's just way more people in Boston than there were there. But that's where I'm also saying, too, that people were not looking to adopt kids. They weren't.
Yeah.
Georgia felt that children should be taken from low-income families and placed with what she called people of a higher type.
Rich white guys.
Mm-hmm. Because of Georgia's insistence on choosing wealthy adoptive families, the practice of adoption became associated with the famous and influential, removing much of the stigma it previously had in American culture. Which is what I only knew of, like, rich people adopt kids. It's too expensive. No one's just fucking adopting kids.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a show of power sometimes, sadly, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, look how rich I am. I bought this kid.
I don't think so. I don't think that was the case. The current Tennessee Children's Home, it just meant that if you couldn't have kids naturally, only the rich could adopt because they could pay the fees for it. But if you couldn't have kids and you were poor, then you're just not going to have kids and you're still going to remain actually maybe being able to buy food. If you're poor and you want to adopt a kid, you shouldn't. You couldn't afford it. If you can't afford yourself, you can't afford another kid.
Right.
The current Tennessee Children's Home, which is accredited by the state of Tennessee, has no connection with Georgia Tann nor the society which she operated. Now, okay, yeah, I almost ended it. That's funny because I was like, no, I have more. There's my...
How? No.
That's the fucked up story of Georgia Tann and her ability to steal and sell more than 5,000 children and essentially get away with it. But here is the crazy shit.
Oh, God.
Who adopted those kids? A lot of famous people.
No way.
Had no idea. So actress Joan Crawford adopted her twin daughters, Kathy and Cynthia, through the agency, while her other daughter, Christina Crawford, and her son, Christopher, were adopted through a different agency.
Cindy Crawford?
Joan Crawford, yeah.
Like Cindy Crawford?
Cindy Crawford.
Like the model?
Yes. Like,
oh.
this comes out all these years later. These famous people who adopted these kids had no idea they adopted stolen children.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's what I had to say. Like, any of the rich parents had no clue that they were adopting stolen babies.
They didn't think they were doing anything bad.
Yes. June Allison and husband Dick Powell, they also use this society, and the adoptive parents of professional wrestler Ric Flair. Ric Flair is one of the babies from this society.
What?
The New York governor, Herbert Lehman, who signed a law sealing the birth certificates from New York adoptees in 1935, had adopted a kid through the agency.
Oh, my God.
So he had sealed the birth certificates so that the New Yorkers couldn't, because he had adopted a stolen baby.
Because he did it.
Yeah.
Oh. Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Cindy Crawford. I wonder how.
I didn't even get Cindy. Joan Crawford is who I thought of. You say Cindy, and I was like, I never even thought of that.
Is it? I mean,
It's Kathy and Cynthia.
I'm assuming it's Cindy.
Christina Crawford and
I don't know her.
two
parents.
of them didn't.
Cindy Crawford.
Joan Crawford was a famous actress. Like one of the black and white movie actresses.
Oh.
So I don't know if it was just based off of Joan Crawford being famous in herself, or if I don't know if Cindy Crawford is the Cindy Crawford of Joan Crawford.
I don't know.
But yeah, so Ric Flair, he wrote a book, his autobiography in like 2004, and the first chapter of his book is Black Market Baby. It's how he came into this world through the agency.
Oh my God. And I
was
think
adopted.
about that too. The kids that grow up and then they find out, like, how would you, I don't know, it would make, like, go through a lot of trauma to find out that you were, and then the parents who feel bad and they don't even know how to trace it back because there's no way to trace it back.
Because they didn't know that society even had them.
Yeah. And then there weren't records and they were all made up and
Right.
shit. So, like, I feel like you told me about this to raise my blood pressure because I am angry.
It's just
I'm sweating.
crazy.
I'm so mad.
Because the people are still alive. Like,
Yeah.
there's still interviews on shows of the people who were the siblings to the kids that got taken. And they're like, no, really, like, we were playing outside and they went on a ride in a car and never came back and they got adopted and were thrown in a different family.
And if they're young enough, they might not remember where their original family was.
Or think that their parents put them up for adoption.
Or that, because I'm sure she could brainwash them and be like, well, they didn't want you anyway.
That's what they did.
Oh my God. Fuck that lady.
They told me to come pick you up. They don't want you anymore.
Stranger fucking danger.
It's insane.
It's
insane it even happened. I can see how it happened. She made so much money. Like, even the way she charged everything, and she loved money, and she lived this super lavish lifestyle. And
Gross.
like her wife, or I mean, not
What about her Boston, what is it?
Boston marriage or whatever. Like
Yeah.
she ended up getting the house, and then she had multiple homes. So I'm pretty sure all of the homes went back into a trust, and then they tried. No one's getting their babies back. They didn't even fucking care. They didn't investigate it. Not one fucking kid went back to their parents. So
Yeah.
even when it all happened, they were just like, ooh, fuck, we shit in the bed. I'm going to just fucking sleep on the other side of the bed and let this shit fucking be there. Because they never even helped anyone.
They didn't do shit.
And because the moms and the people who lost the kids, they couldn't fight the fight anyway. And all the rich parents didn't want to lose their kids fucking 20 years after they got them.
Right.
Like, what am I going to do? My kid's now 28.
And you're like, oh, he's not yours. You go back to this. Yeah.
What would that do? It's going to ruin my kid's life. I might as well not tell him the agency I got the kid from. For them to now know that they were stolen and not just born to an unwed mother who couldn't afford to take care of them. The fucking rippling and of all of it is just fucking unbelievably terrible.
It is really bad.
And then all those parents who thought their kids were dead and their kids were just sold. Or all the kids that were killed. Like, I could have taken care of my kid. I wanted my kid, and then you starved him to death?
Yeah. Like,
I wanted him.
right.
It's just insane.
That is fucking wild. And it's sad that people still do human trafficking today.
That's the most terrifying thing. Like sex trafficking and human trafficking to me is still the most terrifying thing in the world.
And you still, the fact that it still fucking happens grosses me out. But that is, I've never heard that. And I'm going to think about that story for a long time. And I'm not even joking.
I hadn't heard of it either. And then whenever I found her, I was like, I'm intrigued. Let me look. And then I was like, oh, no.
Right.
Oh, no. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Now, and I listened to another podcast. It was two guys. I'm so sorry that I don't remember the name. I only listened to about 8 minutes, and they did a great job. And they were like, if I find myself in Texas, I think they said, no, it could have been, it might be Hickory, Mississippi, or Texas. I don't remember where she was buried. But they go, I'm going to specifically take a trip to spit on her grave.
I mean, let's fucking go right now.
Yeah. I'll find out where the fuck she was buried. But that sad ass cemetery is still, like, you can go visit it.
I feel like we should.
I know.
Jesus.
I don't really want to go to Texas. I'm more likely to go to Mississippi. I don't know why. I don't know. Mississippi feels a little more my speed than Texas. But I don't know. Anyway, it was a fucked up story.
Yeah.
It's not my usual thing, but
you had to go big for our 150th.
it was also really, really long. And so I'm sure I could have, like, there's some things I'm like, how did she, was that the murder that they were talking about? Like, I didn't know she, like, had her own kids, that she was, like, I think she may have raped kids.
You said it.
I know, and I'm just trying not to wrap my head around it.
I know, so I was like, don't unpack it, because she fucking said it, and I'm over here just fuming. Like, and on top of everything else, fuck her. Fuck that bitch in the ass.
Right.
Right.
And yes, this is our 150th episode.
I know. Can we talk about something good?
I didn't even try to, like, throw so many bangers out there, but...
Bangers and mash.
Pew pew. Motherfuckers. Yeah. You're welcome.
Bangers and mash.
So for our 150th celebration, please like, rate, review, subscribe. Send this to your friends.
Yeah. And then buy our Patreon episodes.
Or some merch. We're about to have a whole new everything.
Or a merch, or all of the things. Support local businesses.
Yes.
Even if you're not local, we are. So.
Yeah. Well, y'all, anything else you got? I was like, yeah. I was about to shut it down. I was about to turn off the lights. Didn't even ask you if you had anything else to say.
Well, you're over here doing finger guns. I'd say that's my cue to exit.
I get that. Well, y'all, don't get mad.
Get sassy.
We love you. Bye. This episode was sponsored, edited, and produced by Wonderboy Media. Get the deets at WBOYmedia.com to see how you can make your podcast dreams a reality.
Help us out and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to our audio project. Don't forget, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at, of course, a couple of Sassholes.
Want more sass? Become a member of our Patreon for bonus content, merch, and more. Plus, we're on Cameo now, so there's even more ways to get the sass you need just how you like it. As always, don't get mad.
Get sassy.
Theodore, can I bet that